Hello Indie fans, we had a larger than normal week of releases last week, in part due to the Nintendo Indie Direct and the surprise releases there, so this week's a little smaller in comparison, but is still filled with fantastic games, so let me be your guide to indie gaming this week. Let's begin with Mayhem Brawler, a side-scrolling beat-em-up title that of course does look very much like Streets of Rage 4. Interestingly, this has support for up to 3 players, which is a weird number, where you play as superpowered cops, going after street gangs and criminals, where there are werewolves, street wizards, and vampires running mega corporations in this world. There are 3 unique endings, depending on player choices, but as a fan of beat-em-ups, it's one of interest, and do catch my video on the best modern entries in the top right.
Keep coming! I'm just full of luck.
A title that I had my eye on is Ambition, a Minuet in Power, which was initially built as a roguelite visual novel, but that has since been dropped, simply being a choices matter type experience right now. Set in 18th century Paris, against the backdrop of the French Revolution, play as a young woman navigating high society, gathering information and influence as your actions shape the course of history, whether that means ruling over France or getting your head chopped off. Amazing soundtrack and art as well, making it one of interest even if you don't usually play this type of game. The furthest thing that I expected to see is a Heroes of Might and Magic-like title, where the beloved franchise that was part of my childhood has not had a new entry since 2015, so it was a nice surprise that CountryBalls Heroes seems to be exactly that. As mentioned in previous videos, it seems like a switch has been flipped on the CountryBalls IP, which has led to some interesting games, where unfortunately, this does look to be a little stiffly animated, and of course, political satire abound in this title. Still, as someone who craves anything HOMM, I'll at least give it a shot, and if you love this series like me, smack that like button to show your support.
Welcome to Petria.
Compelling, expansive, and powerful. The incredible landscape and culture is so diverse that every time you travel, you'll discover something new. Escape your troubles with the latest approved high-tech entertainment. Stay in stunning 5-star accommodation. Meet friendly locals.
And maybe even a celebrity.
Our beloved President Tyrak welcomes you to our totalitarian paradise.
I mentioned Road 96 during one of those E3 presentations, where this is a procedurally generated first-person narrative game about a character trying to escape an authoritarian regime.
Where do you think you're going?
It seems very ambitious, with supposedly 148,268 possible unique playthroughs, so let's see if they manage to live up to the promise.
Petria's beauty, you'll never want to leave.
Morning, sunshine. What in the hell happened here? Whoa, focus. One task at a time.
A management sim that may be of interest is Hell Architect, a title that has you managing Hell Inc. itself, utilizing and torturing sinners in order to do your bidding.
You've done.
Being set underground, there's plenty of excavating and building to be done, and does have an interface that looks similar to Oxygen Not Included.
Such a treat.
While the theme is a little sadistic, that comes with the territory, with what looks to be quite extensive and complex looking bases that you can build, making it one of interest, where if you're not convinced, there is a prologue demo to try.
Drones and workers, slaves and sinners. I will now tell you what is necessary to become Hell's Architect.
Just one bigger game this week in Tetris Effect Connected, launching on Steam after previously being an Epic exclusive, and does include the new multiplayer connected mode, which is a free update on all existing platforms. On top of the amazing sound and visuals, Connected is a co-op mode where up to 3 players can play together and literally combine their boards together into one giant play area, working together to defeat bosses while chilling out to the beats. Let's kick off smaller games with something a little different. Blackout: The Darkest Night is a Lovecraftian choose-your-own-adventure game with a fantastic comic book art style, where you did something so heinous that you blacked out and forgot, and have to make the choice to find out or not. A fantastic looking anime dungeon crawling RPG is Brief Dungeon, coming to us from a Japanese developer who made the Dark Witch series of games, where this has been packaged with a card combat title in Dark Witch's Story Combat. An interesting time management game this week is Cosmo's Quickstop, a 3D title where you play as a janitor on board a space gas station, having to run around to put out fires as you scramble to keep everything in order, having been described as the Dark Souls of Whack-A-Mole games, making it of interest. Quick teaser for Dagon, a 3D narrative adventure based on the classic short story from Lovecraft, being a free experience worth checking out. There are a number of generic-looking action roguelites this week, where my pick of the lot is Demon Strikes Back, coming to us from a Chinese developer, although there should be an English translation, where you play as an infernal being fighting against your heavenly foes. The Half-Dead series has been surprisingly popular, being a multiplayer action escape room type of game, which does have its fair share of jank, but somehow this is up to the third entry, which I guess is better than Valve.
Julius Caesar, Augustus, Cleopatra.
We have a remastered RTS next in Imperivm RTC HD Edition, Great Battles of Rome, which is a game from 2007 that seems alright, looking to be touched up nicely and may be worth a look. The developer of In the Dark did reach out to me, and having taken a look at this mini Metroidvania, I do think it deserves a spot on the list due to the art and design. However, in hindsight, this is a terrible name for a game, since A is a generic phrase, B, there are at least 2 games with the exact same name on Steam, and C, there are at least 10 other games that uses the phrase Alone in the Dark, A Fumble in the Dark, Left in the Dark, Shot in the Dark, The Watcher in the Dark, Roving in the Dark, Die in the Dark, and so forth. So indie developers, please take note, do give some thought to the name of your game.
Nugalo, I'm a spoo, and my galaxy is simulated. We know it. But it's been dying since the Great Nacho Wars. And our galactic government couldn't care less.
An interesting looking game this week is Lilith Odyssey, one that combines aspects from many games, being an open world casual flight sim as you travel to the planet Lilith, but does also have action-adventure, dogfighting and survival elements, looking weird but interesting.
And find fuel, then punch it. There's a whole cosmos ahead of us. full of life and danger. Turn our dinky space sailors into defendable homes. Beam us down for pit stops along the way, but they're not all friendly. Show us courage. Fight for us. Get us to Lilith at any cost.
MakerKing is the next build-your-own platformer, being a free entry with in-app paid cosmetics, which will live and die by how good the levels are and how great it feels to play.
Hell froze over when heaven extinguished the pyres. Now, the last surviving pyre burns in our engine. The champions of Hell will stop at nothing to defend our spark. All 6 clans will fight against the Gilded Wing until Hell is ours again.
My favourite roguelite deck builder finally comes to Switch as Monster Train First Class, packaging it as a complete edition so to speak, including the Last Divinity DLC, as well as all the cards, clans and more from the various free content patches, making it perfect on the go. SCP Strategy is an interesting looking management game where you're put in charge of the SCP Foundation, having to find, contain and protect SCP objects, having to manage budget, research, and having to balance relationships with other governments in order to survive, looking pretty cool due to the compendium of SCP objects. A fantastic demo to check out this week is Start Again, a monochrome turn-based RPG with a time loop twist. I like the art style, certainly giving off some Earthbound vibes, so do check out the demo and wishlist the main game if it's good. An interesting looking puzzle game is Temple of Snek, which did get a little too cute with the title, where this is a grid-based puzzle game that uses the snake mechanic of growing longer for every creature that you eat, looking like it could be neat.
Brother. We can't be killed easily, you and I. But I did begin to wonder. Aren't you glad we're not made of flesh and blood?
Let's kick off the top 5 with the Steam release of the Souls-like RPG Mortal Shell and the release of new paid DLC titled The Virtuous Cycle. This game ranked pretty high in my best games like Dark Souls video, linked in the top right, and I know that many of you have been waiting for the Steam release, so now that it's here, no excuse not to pick it up. This new DLC adds a roguelite mode to the game with permadeath, which is likely to happen, where there are upgrade pillars scattered about the world, 100 plus upgrades to choose from, even having an additional shell or player class and a new transforming weapon, so even if you have already played the base game, perhaps it's time for a replay or to check out this new content.
So when is a dessert not just a dessert? I have something to share. So?
Okay, look, I clearly haven't opened it yet, and I know there are baby clothes inside.
I just bought them today. How could you know?
Of course, the time loop thriller 12 Minutes gets a well-deserved spot, being one of the most anticipated indie games due to the premise alone. You play as a man trapped in a time loop, where a nice quiet evening with your wife turns horrid, with someone proclaiming himself to be a cop, barging into your home, accusing your wife of killing her father, getting into a fight with you and beating you to death, only for you to wake up at the start of the evening all over again. Now, recent revelations behind publisher Annapurna may make this not so indie, especially since they were able to enlist the voices of Hollywood celebrities for this game, but ultimately, it does come from primarily a solo developer, so I guess that counts.
Must be thinking of someone else.
No playing dumb.
I know the truth. I'm not lying.
I just said no more games.
I forgave everything, all of it.
Things like this just don't get forgiven.
A fantastic looking hand-drawn entry makes it to launch with Greek Memories of Azure, a puzzle action platformer following the adventures of 3 siblings. Escape a war-torn land by outrunning the invaders, where all the characters have to work together in order to accomplish their mission. The 3 siblings are grouped into the archetypes of warrior, rogue, and mage, where the abilities do interact in a very Lost Vikings kind of way. But there are boss fights as well, making it quite the well-rounded package, not forgetting how gorgeous it looks. A title that I've had my eye on for a little while is Ariata of Spirits, a pixel art Zelda-style action-adventure title where upon visiting the home of your grandmother who passed away, our heroine finds a new ghostly friend and discovers the spirit realm. Being caught up in said world, you then use your newfound abilities and powers to defeat a bunch of enemies, but the designs, while nondescript and simple, do look good due to the pixel art, making it of interest to fans of the genre. It's not every day that you get a 3D Metroidvania, so of course Recompile gets top billing due to the slick visuals, amazing looking action, and for being something different. Play as a rogue program trying to avoid deletion in the mainframe, which explains the visuals, where in a change of pace from the usual melee focus, combat is a third-person shooter instead. You're also able to hack various environmental objects and even enemy spawns with a dynamic, branching story depending on the actions that you take. Being 3D alone warrants this title some attention, but add to that layer upon layer of systems on top of that, and you do have a very intriguing prospect, taking the #1 spot. For more Metroidvania games, watch these videos and I will see you after the jump.